Hi there. Today I'm going to show you how to do two things, both of which I used to make when you were little, Anna. I hope you remember, and I hope you like them. The first one, I'm sure you're going to remember having CLTs. We used to have CLTs. We were vegetarians, so we weren't going to eat bacon. I suppose you could do this with fake bacon, but you remember what we used to use. It's provolone, or provolone, depending on how you want to say it. So we're going to fry that, and I bet you remember how to do that, and lettuce and tomato. And I decided I'm going to add a couple things because of what I have that needs to be used. I'm going to grill some onions, some sweet onions, and put that and avocado with the C cheese, L lettuce, and T tomato. But first, I want to make some fresh tomato bisque soup. This is for my dinner tonight, so I'm going to have these things together, and I think it's going to be wonderful. So, what do you need for the fresh tomato bisque? You need 2 pounds of ripe tomatoes. Actually, after going shopping at Sprouts today, I went back to Trader Joe's, and that's why we got these in a package. Don't like buying vegetables in plastic packages, but, you know, it was handy. Anyway, so these look like really delicious tomatoes, heirloom tomatoes, and it's 2 pounds, and that's how much I need. So, we got those. And then you're gonna need, a medium onion. I have this large onion, so I'll probably use about maybe 3/4 of it. This is not a sweet onion. You could use a sweet onion, but this is just a yellow onion, and that'll be just fine. Then we're gonna need a bay leaf. And I have my bay leaves here. See there? I just need one. A bay leaf. And I'm gonna need some brown sugar, just like a heaping tablespoon of brown sugar. And my preference is always dark brown. Dark brown. This is especially dark. I don't remember where Marty got it, but I love it. I just like that molasses taste. Otherwise, what's the point of having brown sugar? May as well use white. Anyway, that's the brown sugar. Just gonna need a heaping tablespoon. And then I'm going to need 2 whole cloves, not garlic cloves, but cloves, actual cloves, right? Just 2 of those. And then salt and pepper. Oh, I need some fresh basil, and I also bought a plant. Hang on. From Trader Joe's. So I'm going to use whatever I need from this and then get Marty to plant that in the yard. Unfortunately, they're annuals, which means that they grow for 1 year and that's it. So we're always having to get new plants every year. Okay, and then we're going to need light cream and milk. I'm going to use half and half and whole milk. You know, you figure out what you want to use for that. And then you can serve this with large croutons, and I do have some, but since I'm going to make sandwiches, I think I don't need croutons. And then we're going to top it with chives, and I usually use fresh chives, but I'm not sure if we've got any in the yard right now or not, so I'm just going to use these freeze-dried, just to put on the top. So, first thing, let's put this tomato bisque on. Let's put it on. Let's make it. First thing we have to do is peel the tomatoes, peel and seed the tomatoes. The easiest way to do that is to get a pot, and I have this one that I think is going to work really well. I don't think I've ever used it for this purpose. It's a small pot, but it's kind of deep, and that's perfect. So I need to bring that water to a boil. And while I'm waiting for that, I'm gonna wash my tomatoes, and I don't think you need to watch me do that. Just rinse them off. Yeah. I think I forgot to mention butter. I need butter for the soup also. And what I'm gonna use, I was gonna use my butter flavored olive oil, but I think instead I don't remember what I made, but I had some leftover combination of butter and olive oil. I think I'm gonna use that because I got a pretty good bit of it and it'll be just fine. So that's that. While I'm waiting for the water to come to a boil, I have this big bowl handy, hopefully not too close because it's plastic, don't want to melt it, to put the tomatoes in after I boil them for a minute and, you know, make it easier to peel. So that's ready to go. What I'm going to do now is I need to slice a medium onion thinly, and then I'm going to put it in my Dutch oven and cook that. So let's get this onion cut up. Okay. Like I said, I'm gonna use about 3/4 of this onion. So I'm just gonna cut it this way. And then, yeah. This way. That'll be good. So, slice them thinly. And remember, don't cut yourself. Okay, I have my water boiling, and I have a timer on my watch so I can time it for a minute. And now, I'm going to put one in and boil it for 1 minute. And it kind of stopped boiling, but so I'll do this. So what we're doing is just barely cooking just under the skin, so it'll be easy to remove. 1 minute. Okay, it's been 1 minute. I hope that was enough. These, by the way, are humongous tomatoes. But it's okay, I'm not trying to cook the whole tomato, just the skin. I really like it to look like the skin is broken. I'm gonna leave it a little bit longer in hopes that the skin, especially around the stem, will break. But I'm not gonna leave it very long. I have sliced my onions thinly. And there's what they look like. They're waiting for the next step. I don't want to leave this too long, so I'm going to take it out. Okay. And put it in the big bowl. And do the same for all the rest. I'm lucky because these are so big, I only need to do this with 4 tomatoes. So, another minute. As you can see, I've got 2 of them. And you could just wait until they're, you know, not hot. Actually, it's not that hot. So I'm gonna try to twist that off and just kind of puncture the skin. Punctures pretty easily. And should be able to peel that skin right off. But I gotta stop and get the next one. Okay, 1 minute there. And get back to this. See, the skin just comes off really easily. Okay. That's good. Let's do this one. Yeah, I'm just gonna skip that part. Or I take off the stem. There. This makes it so much easier. 1 minute, that's all. There. Whoops. Just about to boil over here. That one's kind of hot. Just took that out. Oh, timer's up. Turn that off. Get my last one. Okay. Okay, so I'll finish with that. I finished peeling the tomatoes, and now I'm going to start cooking the onions. So I'm going to get some of this butter and olive oil mixture I told you about. Not too much, but I don't know, maybe a tablespoon and a half, something like that. You can always add more if it's not enough. Okay. Let that melt, and then the onions are going to go in. And I set aside the tomatoes here. I'll show you. So here's my peeled tomatoes, and I'm just going to set those aside for a few minutes so they can cool down a little bit. They weren't extremely hot. I mean, they cooled kind of fast. I could hold them. So here we go with the butter and olive oil. And I want to speed it up, so I'm going to put this lid on. Put that on because that'll get hot. As you can see, my butter's melted. So I'm going to put in the onions on a medium heat. I didn't mention that, but it's a medium heat. I'm going to saute that. I'm going to do it with the lid on. And while that's cooking, let's chop some tomatoes. Okay. So I'm going to take one, and here, let me get that out of the way. Cut it in half. And remove the stem. And you want to get the seeds out of there. So I have this little spoon. It's pretty good about, you know, scooping that kind of stuff out. I'm just going to try to get out the seeds, which means I'm going to have to cut it some more to get to them, but that's okay because I'm going to chop the tomatoes anyway. I should do this in the bowl so I leave the seeds behind. I don't think you can see it. There. So there's my piece without the seeds. So I'm just going to do this and then chop the pieces. And then I'll have a nice meaty tomato. Bunch of tomatoes. Don't forget, you got onions on the stove. I guess I'm talking to myself. I'll take breaks and go stir them. This needs to be cut some more to get at all those seeds. Wonder if you could plant these and grow tomatoes. I bet you could. Okay, that took kind of a while, but I have the tomatoes all seeded and peeled. Not really chopped, I guess, coarse, very coarsely chopped, but whatever. This is going to end up in the blender, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. I had to turn the onions off because it was taking me so long. So they're a little bit browned, but I kept the lid on, so it's not bad. So I'm going to turn the heat back on, and I'm going to put the tomatoes in. Turned on medium, and some other stuff. So let's get those tomatoes. Okay, here's the tomatoes. Gonna put those in. Gotta cook those. And let's see what else do we need. We need to put in the brown sugar. And, you know, a heaping tablespoon. So, there you go. Heaping tablespoon brown sugar. Then we're going to need the cloves. I need 2 whole cloves. So, oops, I forgot I had a glass. This is an old Penzies bottle that I claimed and put cloves in. There's 2 of those. And then we need salt and pepper. That's a teaspoon of salt. So, okay, teaspoon of salt. And we want ½ teaspoon of black pepper. And I'm just going to guess at that because A, I love black pepper, and you know, if I put more, that's fine. And B, I'm going to do freshly ground black pepper, which is so much more delicious. So, put some of that in. And we're going to put in the bay leaf. Just throw in a leaf. And basil. So, we need to cut the basil. I picked some leaves off of the plant that I just bought and rinsed them off and dried them. And now, gotta cut them. So, let's get that done. You don't have to be particular because, like I said, it's going into the blender. So I'm just gonna slice it like this. Roll them up like a cigar and then slice them. Actually, I don't know how they do a cigar, but I think it's something similar to this. Okay, I'm gonna go put this in and then I'll let you know what's next. Okay, so now I'm gonna just stir that up and I'm going to simmer it for about 25 minutes until those tomatoes are completely cooked. I'm going to put the lid on so it doesn't dry out and put the timer for 25 minutes. And now, 25, now it's time to grill those onions for the sandwich. Because I love grilled onions, and because these sweet onions are not huge, I'm going to use 2. But they also shrink when you cook them. So all I'm going to do is, well, let's do it this way. Make it easy. I'm just going to slice these. Well, cut them in half like this first. And then I'm going to slice them kind of thin. I mean, it's not a big deal how thick you slice them. But you don't want big, you know, big chunks. So fairly thinly sliced. So I'll show you. Okay, that's about somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch thick. So go ahead and slice those. And, well, Let's put some of this butter in the skillet. I'm going to use this skillet, and I'm going to use some of this butter and olive oil mix. It's really hard for me to do with one hand. And I'm making a mess. So let's say a couple of teaspoons full to maybe, I need my other hand. I'm holding the camera. Okay, there, that much. Let that melt. Wow. On a medium, maybe medium low, or maybe medium, and then I'll turn it down. And I'm gonna go ahead and slice these onions and get them ready. Okay, so the butter is melted and the onions are sliced. So I'm going to put the onions in here and slowly cook them. There's no rush. I'm doing this early in the day, so they'll be ready. So I'm going to cook it on like a medium low. And I think I'm going to put a lid on there too. Turn that down just a little bit. And I'm just going to stir it now and then, and that's all I'm going to do to it. Cook it until it's nicely browned. I've adjusted the temperature. I turned the onions up to a medium because it's going really slow. And I turned the tomatoes and the soup down to a medium low. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Here's the onions. It's been a few minutes and it doesn't look like it's cooked very much at all. So I need to get that going a little bit. I may turn it back down. Whoa. Got an escapee onion. And the soup, it's doing nicely. But I still have about 9 more minutes. So I thought I should turn that down just a little bit. So, you know, play with it and make sure it doesn't brown or dry out or anything like that. So, meanwhile, I sliced some tomatoes for my CLT. I'm going to wash some lettuce leaves, and I'm going to wait to cut the avocado until just before we eat because, you know, avocados turn brown and that's kind of yucky. So, that's where we are. The timer's gone off for the soup, so let's take a look. Yep. That looks like the tomatoes are all done. So that's good. I'm going to turn it off. And now we have to remove the bay leaf. There it is. I'm going to do it with tongs. That was the easy part. Now we have to find those 2 cloves and remove those. There's one. Ta-da! Can you see it? There it is. Glad we only had 2 of them in here. You really don't want to leave the cloves in. If you bit into one of those, ugh, that would ruin that bite anyway. All right, so I'm not gonna make you wait for me to do that. So after I get the other clove out, I'm gonna put this in a blender and puree it. and then I'll tell you what's next. Okay, coming along nicely. Let's take a look at the onions. You know, I've been calling them grilled onions, but what we're actually doing is caramelizing the onions. So, they're getting there. See, they're browning nicely. You want them to be very browned. I mean, not burnt like, but, you know, very well cooked and falling apart. And that will release the delicious sweetness of the sweet onions. And that should be all you need to do, is just keep cooking them and stirring fairly often. If it starts getting too brown, turn it down. For the soup, I have pureed the tomatoes, as you can see. And now it's time to add some milk and cream. So right here I have a cup of milk and a cup of half and half. You can add up to another cup of half and half if you want, but I'm probably going to just leave it at this because I want to taste tomato, and anyway, just because. So I'm going to put that in. Oh, I forgot I was going to swirl it in the blender, but never mind that. Just stir it up. I don't have the heat on because what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it for a while. It's still too early for me to, you know, serve dinner. So I'm going to wait, and when I'm ready, I'll just warm that up and sprinkle some chives. Well, serve it in the bowl and sprinkle chives on top. And that's it. That's all that is. Let's see. Oh, that's so good. Yummy. Took me forever to find that other clove, but I finally did. Okay, so over here, I've got my lettuce and tomato ready. So what I need to do now is cook my cheese. Hang on. So I have this griddle, or I'm not sure how well this Teflon's going to work, but we're going to try it. So I'm heating up the griddle, and I'm going to get my cheese, and I'm just going to put it there and let it cook. Got it on medium. Okay, going to drop it on there. Let's see how it works on this surface. I don't remember really how hot I got it, but you don't need any oil on the pan, nothing. Just put the cheese on there and let it do its thing. Here, let me show you closer. Right there. Yeah. So you can see it's starting to melt a little bit. Just don't touch it. You're going to wait until it turns a little bit brown on the edges. Oh, and it smells so good. You can see that it's releasing some oil, which is why you don't have to put any oil in the pan. So I'm starting to see a little bit of brown around the edges. I hope it doesn't stick because I can't scrape it. Let's see. Up. I gotta be patient. But I am gonna just try to coax it a little bit around the edges. Oops. I think maybe it's time. Okay, I don't want it to do that. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so if that happens, as you can see, you can just straighten it out. And there you go. That is our kind of fake bacon. I'm not saying it tastes like bacon, but it's delicious, as I'm sure you remember. And I got my got a plate ready to put it in. And I think that's ready. Yep, there you go. So, that's how you do it. And that's it for now. Okay, the onions are done. I mean, if you wanted to cook them a little bit more, you could, but keep that fire low once it gets this brown. They should be delicious. The cheese is done. I made 3 in case Marty wants 2 sandwiches, and there you go. There's everything ready. I'm gonna toast the bread, and this is what kind we like. But, you know, use your favorite. I'm gonna toast it, put some mayonnaise and mustard, and I've got my avocado ready to cut up. Oh, let me show you a cool new way. Maybe I've shown you this, I'm not sure. This is how I like to do my avocados nowadays. So I used to cut them in half this way and then take it from there. But if you take it and do it the other way too, it makes the whole process easier. Ta-da! Easy peasy. And then I'll just slice those and put them on the sandwich. Yum. Can't wait for dinner.